All right, guys, today we're going to be talking about when to quantize and when not to quantize. Now, this is my personal preference. This is not the way or Bible. This is just my workflow. Let's get right into it.
That's Hunter.
Typically, when I do boom bap, I typically do not quantize because I want to have that natural feel like a real drummer, like real hip hop. So let's demonstrate. For stuff like this, I typically like to have my tempo anywhere between 88 to 90 BPM. So in this case, we could do 90. All right, here we go. So with this groove, it makes it super easy to add keys on top of it or samples. So in this case, let's add some samples on top of this. All right, so you see how it's grooving naturally. Now, I do want to piggyback from my previous video that I am a drummer. I've been playing drums for over 25 years. So I have a natural clock, internal clock that allows me to groove this way. So let's continue on with this example and let's add that sample. Again, not quantized. One thing that we can do is we can always nudge things, and we're going to talk about that more when we get into the more modern stuff. We can actually come into the grid here by hitting this, and then we can actually look at these. Perfect. So on that last one, won't you let me love, what we can do is we can actually nudge all of those. So we can get that right here. And we can actually nudge these back. So we have this set to nudge. We can zoom in and we can kind of dial it back a little bit. All right, so that's a little bit better. That gets it back on track, paying attention to those vocals. When you're working with samples, you may have to warp them. There's all kinds of different strategies, but today I just want to focus on your feel, being able to just play the pads and nudge things over at taste. So that's solid for this. It's not perfect, but it's solid for this demonstration. Now, the next thing we're going to get into is bass lines. This is my favorite part. So I'm going to load up my JD bass from my chill hop kit. So let's do this together, guys, because I've been getting comments about how I've been moving extremely fast on the MPC. So let's do this together. What we're going to do is we're going to add a new track, and I'm on the MPC 3.0. So at the time of shooting this video, the public beta isn't out yet. But when it is out, you'll be able to follow this. So we're going to go to new track. Now we're going to go into a key group. A key group is going to allow us to load in our own one-shot bass sample and stretch it across the keys. Now I've already done this, so all we have to do is load it up. So now I'm going to come over here to load. Now I'm going to go into my external SD card, which is this over here. And we're going to go to the top of the menu, and then I'm going to go into my bass patches. And here's where I have mine. So now I can come over here and we have sound. Okay, now that we have our bass patch, we need to find the key that we're in. Now, I do have, again, a form of perfect pitch, but what I've done was I was able to find this bass line basically by following the melody first Now, from my knowledge of knowing the keys, typically when I hear this melody, that's typically a major 7 when it comes down to this progression. And I'm also familiar with this progression as a whole. We're in the key of D major. And with this progression, this is typically what we call the 4-3-2 progression. We're on the 4th degree. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is based on the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3, 2. So now we have this. All right, now let's talk about this bass line before we record it. I don't quantize my bass lines. Reason being is I want that lag and that loose feel, and I can always adjust later. So if you're a beginner trying to do this, this is going to take some time because you need to establish timing, groove, and feel. So I'm going to give you guys a demonstration on this bass line. Let's tap into it. Here we go. All right, and this is how I get that feel. This is just that natural feel of just having a good time, finding some melodic stuff to do in the highs to allow the bass patch to stand out. Since we are using a sample, this gives me more wiggle room for creative bass lines. Now, if I played some advanced stuff on the keys, I may not have this luxury. So it's just all about balance. Now, if you're really serious about taking your bass lines to the next level and being able to follow these types of chord progressions, then the Viral Sound Masterclass is going to be the place for you, because I spend 30 minutes on just bass lines. I also spend at least about 45 minutes to 50 minutes on chords and progressions, theoretically how to break them down, and ultimately speed your workflow up, because this took me 20 years to get to this space. But I'm compiling my 20 to 25 years of experience in one class for you guys. And that is the Viral Sound Masterclass. We talk about production, sound design, mixing and mastering, and so much more. And what I love the most about this is the community aspect. We have a community tab where we can share each other's tracks, ideas, critique, and who knows, maybe feature you in one of my next releases. Once again, this is only if you're serious about taking your production skills to the next level. I'll leave that tag below for you guys. The first hi-hat hit is a little bit too on top of the beat for my personal liking. So what we're gonna do is come over here to grid, and then we're gonna scroll over to that first hi-hat hit and zoom in. And that first hi-hat is right here. And you can kind of see it's literally on top of the grid, like it's right on top of that line compared to the rest of them. So let's tap that. Perfect. And now we're just gonna nudge that one behind the beat a little bit. See there? More natural. So let's undo it. All right, see how you see how it feels stiff, and it's almost like stabbing you right in the front, versus just nudging it back a few ticks. Feels natural. All right, so that's that natural hump, as we say in church or in hip hop. It has that hump on it. It's nice and it breathes. So now I'm going to take you into a workflow where we're going to quantize half of the groove. And I'll show you what I mean. Now, what I'm going to do is quantize the kick and the rim shot. So we're going to start with that. So we're going to turn this back on, and I'm going to quantize this to a 16th note. So let's get this going. Now let's start with the. All right, let's do that. Here we go. See? So those those I need to be spot on because it has a lot of exposure to error. In these cases, this is where I'm going to quantize. So I'm going to contrast that with an unquantized hi-hat. So we're going to have something like this. All right. All right, so you get a little bit of a natural feel. Now I'm going to show you the second strategy where I am going to quantize the hi-hat and then we're going to nudge it back. Not too bad, and that actually sounds natural. So what I would typically do is go to the grid, and then we will go back to the where we have our zoom in and zoom out here. And then we're going to select that particular hi-hat, and then we'll nudge these all back. Yeah. I like that. So this is the 8-voice choir from the Mellotron. All right, so what I'm going to do is record this progression on top of that. Let's do that. Here we go. All right, so you see how that's grooving naturally. Again, I don't quantize my keys because I want the sustain of the chords and the passing of those chords to flow. I don't want it to feel like boom, boom, boom. I want it to feel like flow, flow, and flow. It just sounds natural and it makes people feel good. It makes you feel good. We're gonna add some 808s on top of this. This is another thing that I've gotten questions about too, about like quantizing 808s, when to do that. So let's add a new track and then we're gonna go into a plugin. We'll go into our sounds here. Let's go into the sub factory. Perfect. And then now we're going to get into some, maybe the 808 creative, and let's find something. Now what I'm going to do for us to hear this a little bit clearer, let's backtrack. Let's go to that Mellotron, and then we're going to add some plugins on top of this, some effects, shall I say. So let's go to effects, and then I am going to get an EQ and filter. Perfect. Let's go to air filter. All right, let's pull that up. All right, so typically I won't quantize 808s, but if I do, this would be in a DAW setting and I would nitpick certain notes. So when I do things like the strong beats, those I might quantize, but when I do stuff like those additional notes, I'll leave loose because they can sound robotic very easily, and it takes away the fun and the feel out of the beat, in my personal opinion. All right, so let's do an example of that. So let's come over here to the grid editor or the MIDI editor. So there it is. There's the troublemaker right here coming on that E flat right there. So I will grab that and then I would nudge this to get it closer to that downbeat. Let's check it out. See? And everything else sounds really good. Now, as a bonus for the 808s, it's a little bit quiet for me. So what I'll do is I'll edit this patch. So we can come over here to edit. And now we're in the editing functionality of the sub factory. And so I'm going to come over here to effects. And then I'm going to turn up this drive. All right, now I'm going to give you guys a bonus example because you guys have been asking about this Quantize quite a bit. So we're going to do one more beat together, and this time we're going to do something more on the trap side, which is going to require a lot more quantizing. So we're going to need that quantize for that. See there? Yeah, and I love the way the MPC really has that snappy quantize for stuff like this. It really is unique to the MPC and the swing. So what we're going to do now is do the note repeat, and we're going to double tap on it to make sure that it stays on. We're just going to do eighth notes to start with. All right, so we're going to add that. Here we go. Now we got a lock. Now I'm going to show you guys a pro tip with this for quantizing. It's along the same lines, but the note repeat. So what we can do is punch in triplets and different things to make the hi-hat pattern really unique. So we can change this to about, let's say, a 30-second note, and then we can do a 30-second note triplet. Or we could do a 16th note triplet, which this is my personal preference. Yeah. So we're going to overdub this. Super dope. Now this is where we can stand out from everyone else. We're going to take our hi-hat and we're going to nudge it behind the beat, and this is going to give us a still Dilla vibe. Even though it's trap, it still gives us that laggy hip hop feel. So now we're going to turn the quantize off and we're going to nudge this. So we're going to get all these. Okay, we're going to zoom in and then we're going to just nudge it over to the right. All right. So I'm going to do this dramatically so you can hear it. All right, so that's dramatic, but you can hear what's happening now. You know what to look for. So that's the dramatic side. Now let's nudge this back towards the strong beats and have it more subtle. See? All right, now I'm going to give you guys a bonus tip. Now we can go into the mix here. So we're going to hit mix. And then we're going to actually double tap mix instead. Now we have the mix on the individual pads. I'm going to turn the hi-hats down. See there? Now that allows the kick to sound more punchier and the rim shot to literally pierce through the mix because it doesn't have to compete with a higher frequency hi-hat. Now that's just a bonus tip. So for the YouTube fam, let's make a vibe with this last groove here. Yeah. Yeah. Add some strings next. All right, guys, thank you for jamming out with your boy. I hope that you got value out of this video. If you did, feel free to hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss anything else from your brother from the channel here. I love and appreciate you, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.